Just a few moments before we came to air, there was a report that, in fact, the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, will release most of the restrictions on people by May 19. Is this wise? Are we going too far too fast?
Well, David, I think you raised the key point, which is how quickly can you reopen without seeing a spike in infections? You know, this second surge for us has been slow to dissipate. I'm really happy with vaccination uptake. A little bit concerned that we're going to have resistance amongst various populations because a high vaccination rate will allow us to open up quickly. I certainly would not argue for opening everything up right away and presuming that we can do business as usual. There's got to be some calculated way to do this so that we're more thoughtful about it, watching the infection rate.
So, Doctor, we were told that to get to so-called herd immunity, we need to get to 70 to 80% vaccination. In the New York area, what percentage have been vaccinated with both vaccinations?
I think you're talking about a far lower percentage than that, and I think that people are now saying, well, maybe we're not going to reach herd immunity. You're seeing resistance in various rural populations, urban populations. What I have found, David, for whatever it's worth, is that going directly to churches, going directly to community-based groups, really explaining to people the vaccine, you can really get better uptake. And that's the key for us, not to see a fall off in vaccines, because I think that we're going to be with this virus for a while. People will get infected, and the more vaccinations we have, the better off we're going to be. But herd immunity, I don't think is going to happen, certainly not by this summertime, which was the original set of projections.
So what does that tell us, those of us who have been vaccinated, about what is safe for us to do and not do? I mean, when they open back up the bars and the restaurants and the sporting events, what is safe for us to do and what isn't?
Well, what's your risk tolerance, really? I think that outdoor activities where you can distance from people, I think it's pretty clear that the level of transmissibility is down. An indoor bar where you don't know who's been vaccinated and who hasn't been, where people are packed in, I think that presents more risk. Now, having said that, if you've been fully vaccinated, your likelihood of dying or getting a severe COVID infection goes dramatically down. But I don't think we want to see widespread infections again, because that increases the amount of mutations you have. And you've seen tragically, as you know, in India, that the dramatic opening of the economy led to a surge that is now a humanitarian crisis, in my opinion. So we certainly don't want to get back to that.
What is the risk of that? Because that is something I think on a lot of our minds. I mean, we don't want to repeat what happened with President Modi over in India, opening up too fast, getting too many people together. Is there a real risk of that in the United States?
I think there is, and perhaps I'm on the more conservative side of these things, but I think that when you reopen businesses, you want to be thoughtful about how many people come back to work, how many people can get into a football stadium, how much are you going to allow indoor dining, how much are you going to allow people to go back to the theater, and increase it. And with that, and I credit the Biden administration for this, a major, major push to make sure that as many Americans get vaccinated as is possible. And the two go hand in glove. But I wouldn't just this is not binary. I would not just turn on the switch and say, hey, we're open for business, we're open for tourism, everything's going to be back to normal in New York by July 1st. I think that would be a big mistake.
What do we know about how long the vaccination is efficacious? I mean, I've gotten my 2 shots, but I don't know how long it lasts, do I?
Well, you don't. And I think that we're hoping that the durability is in the range of a year. We're hoping that you can get booster shots for it, which I think will happen. And this race of getting the vaccination, not having mutations that escape the vaccination, still has to be uppermost in our minds. I don't want to throw cold water on our recovery. It's springtime. People are feeling better about things. But I think, we need to be cautious. And I'll tell you, just anecdotally, walking around New York City this weekend, people were still wearing masks. And people are still cognizant of the fact that we've been through a hell of an ordeal as a country, and no one wants to have to go through that again.
What are you seeing specifically at New York-Presbyterian? Because you are treating people regularly with COVID. What are you seeing in the trend lines? Are you seeing anything that has your attention that might give you concern?
Well, what we saw in January and February was a spike up to about a third of what we were at the peak of the pandemic. Unfortunately, the dissipation of that has been slow, but now we're seeing significant declines. We would anticipate that by Memorial Day, we will be back way down, which is encouraging as we get into the summertime. So we've not seen anything particularly threatening. We've not seen people admitted to the hospital who've been vaccinated twice. So I'm very encouraged by that.
Look out a little bit further. We're really enamored right now this mRNA platform that's being used. As these variants come through, from India, for example, right now, but elsewhere around the world, how easy is it to really redesign the vaccine to accommodate specific variants as we get into booster season, perhaps next fall?
Yeah, I'm very bullish on that. I'm not an mRNA expert, but the people in my organization who are very, very bullish about the ability to modify the platform. And for all of your viewers, I think you have to understand that this mRNA platform has been worked on for the better part of a decade. In part to try to create an AIDS vaccine, in part trying to create a cytomegalovirus vaccine for infants, because that's a significant problem, especially in the developing world. So this is not a new platform, but it's been very effective here. And I think both Pfizer and Moderna believe they can tweak it without too much difficulty and get the manufacturing up. So I'm bullish about the mRNA platform in general, let alone for this specifically.
And finally, doctor, if you can, I don't know if we can do this, can you quantify at all the extent to which you reduce your risk by wearing a mask and socially distancing after you have the vaccine?
David, I wish I knew the answer for that. And you know, there's a mathematical concept that I know everyone, and for that matter, economic concept called hysteresis. I'm going to be personally reluctant to give up my mask quickly. And I think that it's going to take us a while to sort of see how this goes. But the short answer to your question is, I wish I knew, but we do know empirically that it helps to cut down the infectious risk.